Hey guys, I want to show you something that was recently discovered in the Chaos Black Ops 4 Zombies trailer. A lot of us YouTubers, including myself, have done a trailer breakdown going frame by frame, checking out everything. We thought we had found everything, but we haven't. And big shout out to Zach, he messaged me about this. I really appreciate that. Now there could be some people that have noticed this, but I have not, and have not seen any videos about it either. So during this Chaos story trailer, you see them on the Titanic, and there's one scene where you see the Blight Father. He's that spidery looking thing, and we know he's called the Blight Father because he was put into the blackout beta on the last day as an event, and he's that spidery looking thing that spawned into the cemetery next to Varuk. Anyways, in one scene they go up on the top deck of the boat on the outside, and one character is holding the scepter of Ra, and you can see the Blight Father right there. They go and place down the scepter. It creates a dome around them, and then right after that scene is where you see something really interesting. I'm gonna play that scene in slow motion forwards and backwards so you can see it really well. Right here you see Scarlett's back, and then it pans to her left side and you can see some type of figure in the distance on the left. This thing definitely looks like a monster. It looks larger than normal zombies, and it's also holding a pretty large weapon. This scene here that I have playing, you can see its left hand and a little bit of its left arm, and you can see its right arm really well, and then most of its body. This is definitely not a regular zombie. Zombies don't usually wield weapons, so I think what we're looking at here is possibly a mini boss. He could be the equivalency of, say, Brutus on Mob of the Dead, or the Russian Manglers on Garag Kurovi, or even the Panzer. But it definitely looks like the Blight Father is not the only mini boss on this map. What's interesting about this supposed boss is the thing that he's holding in his right hand. And right here, I've slowed the video down even more, and I'm just focusing in on the object that he's holding. It appears to be a really long pole, and it appears to be pretty jagged, and at the bottom it looks like there's a handle. There's two objects coming off of the side of it and closer to the top, and then the top kind of looks like it could be the end of a shovel, and the other end with the handle looks like a shovel handle. And if this is some kind of a shovel, then that could tell us something about what this character is, and I'll explain more of that in just a moment. Now I'll slow down the part of the trailer that shows his left hand and arm just a little bit, and whatever is in his left hand, or is his left hand, is kind of odd looking. It almost has the shape of a hammer, and that would be like the back end. I'm not sure. It's a little bit difficult to see, and I don't think it's his hand. I think he probably is holding something. Now I'll show a clip that just shows him, and you can get a better look at his face and head and body. His eyes are glowing like a zombie, and they look a little bit different than the zombie. They don't look spread out. It looks like he's almost wearing some type of visor that makes his eyes glow through, or he could be wearing a type of helmet or something. The color of his body is really red, and I don't see any definition in clothing or anything like that. It almost looks like his muscles are completely exposed, and you don't see any skin or anything. And whatever he's doing, he is lifting up both of his arms into the air. He's almost making that same animation that Brutus does before he throws his smoke bombs. I wanted to see what he looked like all put together without any obstructions in the way, so I took different clips and pieced them together and put them in Photoshop, and it definitely gives you a better idea of what we're looking at here. So his right hand definitely looks like he's holding either a shovel or some type of gardening tool. I just don't understand what's coming off the left side of that pole. It's hard to tell here, but in the footage it looks like the pole could be made out of a vertebrae or like spine. His left hand and whatever he could be holding was pretty distorted in the clip, so it was hard to really understand what shape it was, so I did the best I could with it. But from what I can tell, it seemed to resemble like a pickaxe or even a hammer. And for his head, it definitely looks like he's wearing something on it, the way that the eyes look, and he could be wearing armor like all over his body. I tried to look into some mythology that might explain what he could be holding in his right hand and who this guy could be, but I found nothing. However, if you look at it from a standpoint that he's holding a shovel, and then you do some research on Titanic, some stuff does come up. And big shout out to Honda Rider for this. So for the Titanic and the areas that we're going to have access to, one of them is going to be the boiler rooms. Here's a shot here of what the Titanic boiler room actually looked like. This is from the game Titanic Honor and Glory, and they tried to really closely depict what everything looked like. So the Titanic was a steam-powered ship, and it had to have constant coal shoveled into these furnaces in the boiler rooms to keep it going. And shovels were the main tool that they used down here. These workers that shoveled coal into the furnaces non-stop were called either firemen or black gang stokers. There was one really famous fireman or stoker that was on the Titanic that actually survived when it sank. And when you look at that boss and you see the shovel and how he kind of looks, it's possible that they could have seen that boss after one of these firemen or even this guy. And you know Treyarch likes to take the history of the locations that they use for inspiration for their maps and put a zombie spin on it. And if they're looking for iconic or interesting or historical people that were on the Titanic, then this guy here might be somebody they would come across. His name was John Priest, and he was probably the most famous fireman or stoker that worked in the boilers on Titanic. He managed to survive the Titanic sinking, and then he worked on 4 other ships that all sank, and he survived the other 4 as well. It became known that this guy was surviving all these sinking ships, and they thought that he was cursed, and they wouldn't allow him on any other ship, so he had to retire because they thought that if he got on the ship, it was gonna sink. Now, this may be a far-fetched idea that this is who this guy is, but you know that Treyarch pulls from history, and this is just an example of something they could work from. But give me your ideas of what you think this boss is. What is he holding? What is he wearing on his head? Who could he be? Could he be linked to ancient mythology? You know, we've got those statues that are holding the perks. Comment your ideas down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next video.